All right, let's dive into a story that's part memoir, part fiction, but 100% powerful. We're talking about The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. It's all about a young man's search for meaning and, well, the incredible teacher he finds in just about the last place you'd ever expect.
So, let me ask you something. Have you ever had that feeling? On paper, you've got it all. You've checked all the boxes, you're successful, you've got achievements, but there's still this, this quiet, nagging feeling that something really important is missing.
Well, that's exactly where we find our guy Dan. He's a world champion gymnast in college, so from the outside, his life looks perfect. But inside, it's a different story. His mind is just a battlefield of what he calls mental noise. Just this constant, restless stream of worries, anxieties, and just this feeling that it's never enough.
Okay, so the Peaceful Warrior's quest. It all kicks off one sleepless night at exactly 3:20 in the morning. Dan can't sleep, so he wanders into an all-night gas station. And there he meets this mysterious old man who is about to turn his entire world completely upside down. He ends up calling him Socrates.
And this is no normal meeting, let me tell you. 1 second, the old man is standing right in front of him. Dan blinks, and poof, the guy is now sitting on top of the gas station roof. Dan is, you can imagine, completely floored. It's this moment that just shatters his whole idea of reality and tells him, okay, this teacher is not like anyone I have ever met.
So Socrates' first lesson, it's not some big, complicated philosophical lecture. Nope. It's simple, it's messy, and it's a really powerful metaphor about what you've got to do before you can learn anything that truly matters.
Picture this. During one of their first meetings, Socrates is filling up a car's gas tank, but he doesn't stop when it's full. He just keeps on pumping, letting gasoline spill all over the ground. Dan starts to panic, right? He thinks the old man's lost his mind. But of course, there's a lesson in the madness.
Socrates just turns to Dan and lays it out for him. He says that Dan's mind is just like that overflowing gas tank. It's so packed full of useless junk and old ideas that there's just no room for anything new to get in.
So what is all this mental clutter he's talking about? Well, it's all the stuff we carry around every day, right? It's old thoughts, wrong opinions we never bother to question, endless worries about the future, and of course, all those regrets about the past. Socrates' point is simple. To really learn, you have to be willing to unlearn first. You gotta make some space.
So how do you actually make that space? Well, Socrates' methods are, let's just say they're pretty unconventional. His training is designed to completely bypass Dan's analytical, overthinking brain and tap into a much deeper kind of intelligence.
The whole training really boils down to this difference between two types of wisdom. On one hand, you've got book knowledge. That's the intellectual stuff Dan is great at, but it just leads to more overthinking. And then there's what Socrates calls body wisdom, this intuitive, natural intelligence. He basically says the secrets of the universe are right there in our own bodies, but our minds are just way too loud for us to hear them.
Now, to jolt Dan out of his head, Socrates uses what you could only call shock treatment. Seriously. He randomly shoves Dan off a bridge into freezing water. He pulls a sword on him. And these aren't just cruel pranks. They're designed to completely shatter his ego and force him out of his thoughts and into the raw, immediate present moment.
And all of this leads to one of the biggest ideas in the whole story. Our own mind is our prison. It's not the world outside that traps us. It's our own beliefs, our fears, and that ego that's constantly trying to protect itself. The bars are invisible, sure, but man, are they real.
All of this strange, intense training is really pointing to one central, incredibly powerful idea: learning to live fully in the present moment. Socrates tells Dan the time is always now and the place is always here. To really hammer this home, Socrates tells this famous Zen story. 2 monks need to cross a river, and there's a woman there who needs help. The older monk just picks her up and carries her across. Hours go by, and the younger monk is just stewing. Finally, he explodes. "We're monks. We're not supposed to touch women. How could you do that?" And the older monk just calmly says, "I put her down by the river hours ago. Why are you still carrying her?" That just nails it, doesn't it? We carry these burdens around in our minds long after they're over.
Here's another great example. Dan's on a picnic with a woman named Joy, and it starts to rain. Dan's reaction, he's immediately irritated, angry. The day is ruined. But Joy, she just laughs and enjoys the feeling of the rain. See, the rain itself is just rain. It's neutral. It's their reaction to it that creates either suffering or joy.
So emptying the mind, trusting your gut, living in the now,
All of these lessons are really building up to one ultimate goal, and that is the practice of letting go.
But letting go of what exactly? Well, we have to let go of the illusions we have about who we are. We have to release that desperate need to control everything. We have to let go of our attachment to success and praise. And here's the real kicker. Socrates says you even have to let go of the desperate search for enlightenment itself. That's a paradox for you.
This all comes to a head after Dan pulls off this huge gymnastic victory. He's on top of the world, expecting a big congrats from Socrates. But instead, his teacher just looks at him and says, "Your job is to live an ordinary life. The goal isn't to be some famous hero. It's to live a simple, normal life, but with an extraordinary level of awareness."
So, after years of struggle and travel and searching, Dan finally learns the last and most important lesson of the peaceful warrior, and it's a lesson that can only come through total, complete surrender.
Dan eventually finds Socrates again, but this time, he's a broken man. He just admits it. "I failed. All my searching, it led me nowhere." And Socrates' reaction? He's overjoyed. He celebrates, saying, "Your heart is broken," which means it is finally open. That moment of total surrender, of finally admitting he can't figure it out alone, that was the final gate he had to pass through.
And what's on the other side of that gate? Socrates' final instruction. It's not some secret chant or a complex technique. It's just this: be happy for no reason. Real happiness doesn't depend on getting what you want. It's a state of being that just shows up when you finally let go of everything else.
After one last crazy, surreal journey, Socrates just vanishes. And in that quiet moment, Dan finally gets it, the final lesson. Socrates was never just some guy at a gas station. He was a reflection, a catalyst. The wisdom, the peace, the warrior he'd been searching for all over the world, it was inside him the whole time. The journey was never about finding a teacher, it was about discovering the teacher within.
And that really leaves us with a pretty profound question to chew on. If it's true, if your own mind is your prison, how would that change the way you approach your life tomorrow? How would it change the way you deal with your challenges and even your joys? That's definitely a question worth sitting with.